In 2000, the Recording Industry Association of America sued Napster. What followed was a ton of lawsuits against Napster for essentially giving away their copyrighted material for free. In 2023, the same thing is happening with the news. The New York Times is suing AI for a reason that I actually tested out while I was preparing this video, so stick around for the entire video and see the results of my test. This is why the New York Times is suing AI. OpenAI uses the entire internet, everything that's available, to come up with their answers to your questions. The entire internet has a lot of intellectual property on it, including all of the articles on the New York Times. The articles on the New York Times were written by human beings. OpenAI is taking those articles and using them in their answers. I want to read a few quotes from the article that I found. This is from the Associated Press. Web traffic is an important component of the paper's advertising revenue and helps drive subscriptions to its online site. But the outputs from AI chatbots divert that traffic away from the paper and other copyright holders, the Times say, making it less likely that users will visit the original source for their information. And then a quote from someone representing the New York Times: "These bots compete with the content they are trained on." New York Times is upset because they're losing money at the hands of OpenAI. Let's say that OpenAI uses an article from the New York Times. The article on the New York Times' website might have affiliate links. When OpenAI uses those articles, those affiliate links don't exist. By OpenAI using the information from the New York Times, it gives people less of a reason, if any reason, to go to the New York Times at all. Aside from the affiliate links, and arguably more important, in order to read the New York Times, you need a subscription. Usually. Not always, but usually if you want to read something current, you're going to need a subscription. The New York Times says, and actually cites to a couple different cases where OpenAI is using their material. So I wanted to test this out. I found an article about Israel and Gaza and where the state is going to be. I clicked on it, and of course, it's behind a paywall. So I went to ChatGPT and asked it for news regarding a Supreme Court decision that would affect the state of Israel. ChatGPT didn't know. Apparently, its cutoff date is January 22nd, 2022. So I went about this in a different route. I thought that maybe ChatGPT 3.5 wasn't as updated as ChatGPT 4, so I bought the subscription to ChatGPT 4, and it gave me the same answer. I found a New York Times article from December 2021, which is before the January 2022 ChatGPT cutoff date. The New York Times article was about the Omicron COVID variant and how it was affecting Christmas at the end of 2021. I asked ChatGPT about the Omicron virus and how it affected Christmas in 2021. I asked ChatGPT 4 how the Omicron virus affected Christmas in December 2021, and it really just gave me general information, and I wanted to try something a little bit more specific than the Omicron variant. So I bought a subscription to the New York Times in search of something really specific with some clear answers. I found an article about birds aren't real. Now, if you don't know, birds aren't real is a meme movement, and there's great documentaries on it on YouTube. Look up birds aren't real. I literally asked ChatGPT to explain birds aren't real. I compared the ChatGPT answer to the New York Times answer, and I saw that there was almost no overlap. I asked ChatGPT to explain the history of birds aren't real, and something really weird caught my eye. Now, I'm going to read directly from ChatGPT 4. The movement doesn't have a single origin or leader. Instead, it's a collaborative effort of internet users who enjoy creating and sharing satirical content. Now, the interesting thing about this is that the New York Times article, which again is before January 2022, is a full biography on the origins and the founder of Birds Aren't Real. His name is Peter McIndoe. So even though this New York Times article was before January 2022, which apparently is the cutoff of information for ChatGPT, ChatGPT was completely unaware of this. In the research that I did, I found that the New York Times cited multiple instances where OpenAI used their articles verbatim. I'm sure that if I dug deeper and compared hundreds of New York Times articles to answers by ChatGPT, I would find some similarity. In the test that I just did, not only did I find no similarity, but I found an answer by OpenAI that was incorrect. Now, here's what I think should happen. If the New York Times is so concerned about losing web traffic, they should partner with OpenAI to create a chatbot that allows people to ask it questions about current events. People are clearly willing to purchase subscriptions not only to the New York Times, but also to ChatGPT and OpenAI. OpenAI clearly has the technology to scan every single New York Times article, and in order to get ahead, just like Napster did, the New York Times should innovate, and they should create a chatbot that does this. I really think that's the future of the news. Like, wouldn't you want that as the listener of this or the watcher of this? Wouldn't you want to just go on your phone, ask it a question about current events, and have it give you cited and correct information rather than having to rely on the incorrect ChatGPT 4? I don't know how this lawsuit is going to end up. I am a firm believer in the fact that either this lawsuit or a very similar lawsuit is going to reach the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is going to make a ruling as to whether or not OpenAI can use the entire internet as its training materials, as its source materials. OpenAI is using a ton of copyrighted information to train its supercomputer and provide you with answers. Wouldn't you want that information to be correct? So that's it. That's the lawsuit that's going on between OpenAI and the New York Times. The New York Times is apparently in a really bad position right now at the hands of OpenAI, but OpenAI is innovating, and OpenAI is just going to get better and better. 10 years down the line, people might watch this video and say, you know what? The New York Times really did a great job and they started a brand new chatbot, or they're going to say, New York Times who? We don't know. Friends, my name is Levi Graham Weinstein. I am an attorney. Please DM at Lawyer Levi with any legal questions that you have. I love you. Peace.